welcome to the February 20th, 2025 meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Lori Flannery, President and CEO of New Directions, your club president, and Paul Harris Fellow. I would like to remind you as we get our meeting started today, if you have an electronic device with you, if you would please take the time to make sure that it is either silenced or completely turned off. Thank you very much for that. Now we'll have our invocation provided by Ginger Wallace. Ginger is retired from our United States Air Force, and she's a Paul Harris Fellow +2.
Please join me as your custom. Dear God, today we pray for those once again impacted by the flooding across Kentucky, those that lost everything and those that lost their lives, in both the floodwaters and due to extremely cold temperatures. We ask you to comfort their families during this difficult time. It is during times like these we are especially thankful for VOA and their support of our most vulnerable populations. We ask that you continue to guide their work as they help lead our city as it works toward a more compassionate solutions, especially for our unhoused population. And as we are here in this warm room, while it is frigid outside, I would like to offer this poem today to bring the vulnerable to the front of our minds and remind us that we are all God's children. Lost in the Streets by Darrell Holmes. A soul in the street with nowhere to go. A heart that still beats, though it's lost its home. A mind that still thinks, though it's filled with woe. A life that still exists, though it's on its own. The rain beats down with no shelter in sight. The wind howls loud through the dark and lonely night. The cold grips tight as the hours slowly pass. The weary eyes fight to keep the memories of the past. A heart that once laughed now bears a heavy load. A mind that once dreamed now finds itself alone. A soul that once sang now whispers a mournful tune. A life that once had meaning, now just a hopeless roam. No warm embrace to chase away the chill. No gentle voice to soothe the aching heart. No loving smile to bring a brighter day. No hand to hold to guide them through the dark. But still they rise with courage and with grace. Still they survive in this unforgiving place. Still they believe in a brighter tomorrow. Still they achieve what they once thought was impossible to follow. So let us not forget the homeless on our street. Let us offer them love, a warm bed, and a meal to eat. Let us help them rise and bring back their smile. For every soul in the street is precious and worth the while.
Thank you for that, Ginger. Now to lead us in the pledge and the Rotary four-way test, we have Tom Boner. Tom is a retired financial advisor, Paul Harris Fellow +1, and has had legions of responsibility roles here in our club. So please welcome him.
Thank you, President Lori. As we prepare to recite the pledge, let us recognize that this pledge is not dedicated to any one individual or any one period, but it's dedicated to ideals that we intend to make and preserve. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then if you will recite with me the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much for that, Tom. Okay, now it's time for our guests to be introduced to the club. So Rotarians, if you brought one or more guests, if you will please line up at the microphone to my right.
Ready?
1 second. I usually continue with the instructions. That's okay. I usually continue with the instructions, but I have begun to notice that everybody talks when people are getting up to go introduce the guest. So I'm waiting for just a couple of seconds for everybody to get in place. Before we get started, Okay, Rotarians, before you introduce your guests, please state your name, then introduce your guest by name, letting us know what their affiliation is by title and organization. Guests, when you hear your name, if you will stand briefly so that everyone else in the club can get an idea of who you are and put a name with a face. Thank you. Henry?
I'm Henry Hauser, President Laurie. Fellow Rotarians, my guest today is Dr. Andrew Palmerville, a former Rotarian from Michigan and 1.5-year resident of Louisville and president of the Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. Andrew Palmerville.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, my name is Mackenzie White with PNC. Today my guest is John Sims, commercial banking with PNC.
Welcome.
President Laurie, good afternoon. This is John Cunningham with UBS Financial Services. I have two guests today. First is Stephen C. Dalton. Since 1976, Steve has been active in industrial real estate and Louisville, founding the Stephen C. Dalton Company in 1991. He currently serves as board member of the Gordon Center, the University of Louisville's President Council, Impetus for a Better Louisville, Greater Louisville, Inc., where he is a member of the Executive Committee and Chair of the Governance.
We can't hear you. Get closer to the mic.
Steve is an emeritus trustee of his alma mater, College of Worcester, and former chair of the University of Louisville Real Estate Foundation and Louisville Public Library Foundation.
Welcome.
Steve Dalton. I also have my daughter, Leanne Cunningham, with me, who is a proud Assumption graduate.
Welcome.
Also graduate of Rice University and Duke University.
Fabulous. Future Rotarian.
President Laurie, Craig Mooney, CFO of Bussey Construction and Board Treasurer and also Chair of the Rotary Honors Scholars Committee. Today my guest is David Quokka, also with Bussey Construction. He's the project manager for us.
Welcome.
Hi, President Laurie, fellow Rotarians. I'm Dominic Maneke. I'm proud to have as a guest Carrie Richardson, who is President and our Chief Business Development Officer over at C2 Strategic Communications.
Excellent. Welcome, Carrie. Carrie's the last in the past for me. All right. Okay, so the next time you all hear me ring the bell, that's going to mean that this meeting is adjourned. And the guests, if you will please make your way over to the What is Rotary table. It's over here in the corner. You can't miss it. It has a placard on it. That placard says, "What is Rotary?" We'll have someone there to spend 5 or 6 minutes just giving you an overview of what Rotary is in general and what our club is all about. So we would appreciate that. As always, we have several Rotarians in the spotlight this week. We want to give congratulations to Marissa Midgiff Neal and Cynthia Collier on their nominations for the NABO Epic Awards Women Business Owners of the Year. We want to give congratulations to Dr. Swanee Jett and Robert Fink. They were speakers at the recent Kentucky Healthcare Financial Management Association annual conference, so congratulations to them. We want to congratulate Kevin Fields Sr., who is Vice President of the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, Louisville chapter. He's going to be speaking at the February 27th Back on Track event, so congratulations, Kevin. Also our club secretary. We want to congratulate Christy Brown and Mike Mountjoy as Rotarians for being elected to the recent Louisville Business Firsts Power 50 Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Christy and Mike. This is pretty recent news. We want to give kudos to corporate members Ron Gallo, Ann McCune, Ramona Dallum, and Heather Cash with the Community Foundation of Louisville. They have just announced new loans of over $3 million through Invest Louisville. This is a new impact investing program aimed at pooling capital and deploying resources for local projects in underinvested areas of Louisville. Congratulations as part of that goes to Lyndon Pryor and the Louisville Urban League, which he leads, which received $1 million to seed its Reparative Economics Fund, a new investment vehicle that will help create 500 stable, Black-owned companies by 2027, just around the corner. It's very exciting to see that federal investment here, and it's desperately needed, so thank you to the Community Foundation of Louisville for that. We want to give congratulations to corporate members Amy Luttrell, Rena Sharp, and Mark Homan with Goodwill Industries. Goodwill has been awarded a $3 million contract to operate the city's community violence intervention sites in a partnership with the Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, the VOA, Center for Neighborhoods, and U of L Hospital on the Pivot to Peace program. And this is going to be in neighborhoods such as Park Hill, Algonquin, Taylor Berry, Newburgh, and Russell, which are considered high risk for gun violence. So congratulations. As we all know, another thing that's very, very needed in our community at this time. Okay, for upcoming Rotary events and announcements, I go through these every week as they come up. So I'm just going to generally say that we have several Rotary events in the works that I've talked about before, but I'll note them quickly. We've got the meal service at Recenter Ministries coming up, Interact and Rotaract Club blood drives, the Rotary wine swap party, and the Rotary spring fling at the zoo. And so details for each of those is going to be in your weekly Sparks. You can register for them there. We still need volunteers for our Habitat for Humanity Raise the Roof Day on Friday, March 14th. Alyssa Gray has been leading that effort through the Lifeline Committee. Alyssa, unfortunately, is going to be out of town that day, and she did note at our last board meeting that we had, our monthly board meeting of the Rotary Board of Directors, that there were about 3 or 4 Rotarians who participated in this last year. So kudos to them for doing that, but that the goal that we have set is to have around 15. So we do have room for improvement on that. If you are interested, there's all levels that can help with a habitat project, so please consider doing that to help and change somebody's life. Our next season of Rotary University begins next Tuesday at noon, and it's via Zoom, so it's all virtual. Completion of these 5 sessions and a service project are required for all new Rotary members. So please mark your calendars and register for these very informative sessions. Anyone can participate, however. So if you've been here a while and you would like a refresher, please also feel free to join in those. I wanted to let everyone know that the board, at the board meeting earlier this week, has decided to discontinue the Magic Engagement campaign. We thought it was a great idea, and we may do it again in the future, but we really just did not get the participation that would warrant having a campaign. We went back and talked to the people who were participating, and they said that, really the motivation was to participate, and it wasn't really the campaign. So in light of that, for anyone who has participated in the campaign to date, in next week's meeting, we're going to be choosing who gets to get this wonderful donated bottle of Russell's Reserve. So if you're interested in potentially winning this and you have participated in the Magic campaign, please plan to join us next week. All right, now I'd like to invite to the podium Jan Grayson, Managing Partner of JMG and Associates, and Paul Harris Fellow, to introduce today's speaker.
Well, I'm very pleased to announce Jennifer's speaking tonight. I'm on the board of Volunteers America. I'm the treasurer of the board, and that came about with a project where I first met Jennifer and a few of the organization, and 2 other Rotarians, Ken Middleton and Kevin Wardell, and I were part of a team for the Leadership Louisville Encore program. So and I was so impressed with the organization and what they were accomplishing, and Jennifer, that I asked how I could stay involved, and she decided I could be a board member. So anyway, Rotarian Jennifer Hancock is the president and CEO of Volunteers of America Mid-State. Jennifer earned her bachelor's and master's degree in social work from the University of Kentucky and earned her license in practice independently in 2001. She has served in many capacities during her more than 25 years of professional leadership in the nonprofit sector and her 18 years advancing the mission of Volunteers of America. Since becoming CEO in 2015, Jennifer has led VOA through an unprecedented growth and now oversees a $65 million budget and a team of more than 650 professionals. In addition to addiction recovery, Volunteers of America delivers solutions in the areas of veterans services, including suicide prevention, housing and homelessness, public health, comprehensive care for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and a restorative justice program that helps keep youth out of the criminal justice system. And again, this growth was from 20-something million that when I joined the board, it's now 65 million. So that is an impressive rate of growth. Jennifer is active in the community, serving on many boards, including immediate past chair of Impetus for a Better Louisville, University of Louisville Board of Overseers, West End Opportunity Partnership, Louisville Economic Development Alliance, Advent Hospital, One Clay County, you decide, Kentucky, and an advisory council member of Young Professionals Association of Louisville. And she had recently been honored to have her experience in the addiction field featured in Newsweek magazine. And Jennifer received the 21, 22, 23, and 24 Business First Power 50 Award and the 2022 Enterprising Women's Award. She is a terrific leader.
You get a sense of why I wanted Jan on this board, right? So thank you so much for that kind introduction, and hello everyone. It's such a pleasure to get to be here with you today and talk to you about the latest work of Volunteers of America. Keep signaling me if you can't hear me. I'll talk as close into this mic as I can. Are we okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So here's what I want to do. I just want to frame up the organization before I do a deep dive into a current project that really is the impetus for me being here today, although I was also encouraged, funny pun, to talk about my work with Impetus. So I'm going to weave that in. Many of you are familiar with the organization. I wonder why my little clicker isn't quite working here. Let's see if I can, there we go. So I just want to level set to frame up Volunteers of America in case you're not as familiar. We're an old, not-for-profit, faith-based organization that has been doing the good Lord's work since 1896. Our name is a little misleading, so we still get calls every single day asking if people can do volunteer projects and if we coordinate volunteers because of that tricky word in our name. We were founded by volunteers who were missionaries, and they wanted to serve America. And so Volunteers of America, here we are 129 years later, but we've professionalized, we've grown the organization to become accredited and licensed. So we lost those grassroots kind of feels corporate structure a long time ago, but the passion and the mission is deeply rooted in the DNA of this organization. So much so that it's been a little bit of a struggle for the organization to kind of elevate and get some brand recognition because we're founded by people who just wanted to go out and do the work and not get a lot of attagirls or attaboys. And so that's been an interesting challenge for an organization that's been working in communities for as long as we have. You heard in Jan's introduction the size of the organization today. We're actually a regional affiliate of a national organization headquartered right here in Louisville, responsible for serving Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, and Clark and Floyd counties in Indiana. We are an integrated care model, and we haven't always been. Our organization, because we've been around a long time with a very broad mission to serve the most vulnerable, each affiliate of this organization looks a bit different based on community needs. And as we've grown, we've tried to stick to our knitting in terms of doing what we have the core competencies to do, but to really integrate our services in a way that are most meaningful and helpful to the end user. In other words, a lot of times the people that we serve come in a front door of our veteran services, but they need help with housing or behavioral health. The beauty about the way we're structured today is that we have 7 divisions that sit inside of this organization, and you can see those here. I'm going to concentrate in particular on one today, which is our homeless and housing division, but we're active in the addiction recovery space. We have a signature program, and the reason that I was able to be featured in Newsweek was not at all about me, but about the work of Freedom House, where we're caring for women pregnant and parenting and substance use disorder, a very unique family-focused approach to treating the entire family that's been impacted by substance use. We do a lot in the addiction recovery space, both treatment and housing. We do a lot in the public health space, and we have community health workers that are out on the streets, particularly in the 9 neighborhoods of West Louisville, working with individuals who have been out of healthcare, who need access to all the social determinants of health and the supports to get them back into the healthcare system and caring for themselves. We do a lot of work in the justice space, the restorative justice work that we're really proud to get to do today. We acquired Restorative Justice of Louisville in 2020, have grown that mission from a $200,000 portfolio that is now more than $3 billion of work, and we're taking it statewide. We got a piece of legislation passed last year to help perpetuate that mission throughout the Commonwealth. Our work with veterans is really important to us. We hire veterans to serve veterans. We believe in that unique competency that comes with having served. And we do a lot around moral injury. That's a whole nother conversation that I'd love to have with some of you around how we really care for those who have served our country in a way that as they come home have to reconcile the moral compass. Sometimes having had to act out of it for the line of duty in our nation's protection. And so we do a lot around moral injury and preventing suicide with our former military members and their family members as well. We serve people who have intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we do that work largely outside of Louisville Metro, but in southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and Tennessee. And let's see if I left anything out before I get to our homeless and housing division, which is the one that I really want to concentrate on today. But first, let me explain a little bit about Impetus, since I was invited as the immediate past chair to just tease that organization, and I see several of my members here today, and certainly Steve Galt, who has become such a dear friend largely because of our work on the Public Safety Committee of Impetus. Impetus was founded back in 2017 by the late Mr. David Jones Sr., who really saw, as he was starting to think about his legacy and impact, an opportunity for business leaders to be more responsible for solving Louisville business problems. And let's not just leave it to the GLI and to the city government, to some others. Let's take the matters ourselves and try to focus on some very specific areas where we can have direct impact. And I just happened to be meeting with Mr. Jones and Chuck Denny, who was at PNC Bank at the time, on a project out at the Parklands. And they invited me to the first meeting, and I had no idea what it was going to be like or who was going to be there. But there began Impetus, which today has become about a 60-member organization. We have 3 primary areas of focus. One is on public safety, as I mentioned, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done there in just a moment. Also, economic growth, growing the population of Kentucky, and specifically we were supportive of the income tax reduction and did a lot of work with legislators to help make that bill get through a couple of years ago, and now we're seeing the benefits of that. And then finally, the third area is education, making sure that we are engaged with our public school system in positive, productive ways to ensure positive outcomes for every student that is in our public school system. The photograph here, something that I know Steve and I are so proud of. Steve was a huge supporter of this project, both in his fiscal support and his logistical support, was to create a first-in-class wellness center for first responders in this community. So if you think about the cloud that has been lingering over our police department, we're now negotiating a consent decree. Coming out of COVID and the civil unrest, we had many first responders who were suffering from moral injury and post-traumatic stress, secondary traumatization. And so this wellness center is really a national model now, something that the U.S. Department of Justice has pointed to and brought people here to see as the best in class, because it's a holistic approach to treating every facet of someone. So financial, spiritual, mental health, physical health. They have a special program for those who are off duty because of workplace injuries to get them back into the line as soon as possible. And already it's just been open 15, 16 months. It's already proven to reduce the number of days off duty. The morale is so much better. It's welcomed people to come forward and not feel so stigmatized, because this is a profession, I can tell you as the sister of someone who spent his entire career serving this community in law enforcement. It took his retirement before my brother Jeff admitted that he was suffering from some trauma associated with having to take someone's life, which he did in the line of duty, and some other things that he experienced and witnessed during his career. We're now getting to break through that stigma and invite people to come together to have their needs met. We think that part of public safety, and this is why Impetus got behind this, is to make sure that the people serving us on our streets are as healthy and well as possible. So giving them this tool has been something that we've been really proud of. Okay, one of the things that Impetus has also supported, and I had an opportunity to deliver a similar presentation to our membership group last year, is the work that's happening around homeless and housing in this community. And I want to acknowledge Amy Luttrell and the work that she's done at the Goodwill Opportunity Campus, which has really been an inspiration for us to think about how we want to model after her the community care campus. I want to focus most of my comments on that today. But I want to tease you with some other things that are happening, but first to just set the table on why this is such an urgent need for the community. Louisville is not unlike other major urban cities that experienced during COVID in particular this huge rise in street homelessness. And for those of us who work downtown, we have seen it transform in just the past few years. I've been at the 4th and Chestnut location, where our headquarters has been located until just a couple of months ago. For the past 13 years, we were on that corner. And I remember how vibrant and fun it was to work at that corner in 2019. I just felt like we were peaking, and there were restaurants and traffic and all kinds of fun activities happening in and around that corridor. And as COVID descended and the civil unrest occurred and doors shuttered, it became a place where largely it was infiltrated by people who were dealing with high acuity behavioral health disorders and also experiencing issues of homelessness. And so we've seen this transition in our community, but I'm going to really emphasize Louisville is not alone. This has been, unfortunately, a hallmark of most major cities around the country. So you see some data here associated with the Coalition for the Homeless and how they've been tracking the growth, particularly of families experiencing homelessness. Now, those are not the people that you typically see. That's not the gentleman at the intersection of Grinstead when I'm coming off the 64 there who stands with his son. Every day on the way to drop my daughter at school, we see this gentleman. We typically see people who are singles. We don't see families because those are more hidden, but they are there and they're living in their vehicles, they're doubled up on relatives' couches and floors. And unfortunately, more families were affected during the pandemic than ever before. So, one of the things that Volunteers of America has been doing in this community for 40 years is serving families affected by homelessness. We do that in a program we call Unity House. Unity House is a unique way of serving the whole family, and not just 3 meals and a cot. I want to be really clear, this is a professional approach to care that really seeks to dig at the root cause. We're not just superficially mandating this problem, we are really understanding, is it addiction, is it mental illness, is it lack of living wage jobs, is it you need to get some of your credit repaired. So it is a deep dive, and we work closely with PNC Bank to do a financial literacy course for all of our residents. They save 80% of their earnings while they live with us so that we can prepare them for their future and help them find stable housing. It's dealing with kiddos. We have 92 people living with us today, most of whom are kids, 26 JCPS schools, so 26 different school buses coming to our house at Preston and Ormsby to pick up our kids to take them to school today. So we're focused on our youngest clients and making sure that they're ready to achieve academically because they haven't been able to prioritize academics when their bellies are hungry and they're uncertain where they're going to lay their head. So as they come to us, we're really focused on that whole person, both for our young and our adult clients. We have a family stabilization program, so when they complete our program, they can go on and to have some additional case management while they're going back into the community. So we support them as they're re-entering. And then we do senior and affordable housing. We are really proud of the fact that we've been a partner of HUD for a really long time, where we provide the housing oversight as well as the services that happen on site. And in fact, we have our partners here from Bosse who are helping us with Monarch Station. This is a brand new 80-unit development that's in Germantown, right next door to our Shelby Street Clinical Campus, where we're delivering care to men and women and their kids affected by addiction. 80 units, 20 of which are for those who are most chronically homeless, who have behavioral health disorders, who will have some special supports to ensure their success in that environment. We just broke ground last month. We're really excited to be able to offer this beautiful new home to 80 families and individuals who otherwise would be chronically revolving in and out of systems in our community. And we're not alone. We have other partners. Obviously, Lori and her work is phenomenal. We have Friends in St. John Center, who's doing some affordable housing. It is a collective approach to making sure that we work as hard as we can to bring more housing solutions to our community. So I want to talk about the Community Care Campus now. So this is an initiative driven initially by Mayor Craig Greenberg. When he came into office in January of 23, he pledged to address homelessness through the purchase, at least in part, through the purchase of a campus at Breckenridge, Brook, and Floyd. If you're familiar with George Stinson's event venue and hotel, that's the site that he purchased and all of the properties on that plot of land. He issued an RFP, and we responded following the data, knowing that we needed to serve more families. And we said, we'll do more family shelter. We know how to do Unity House. We'll do a Unity House 2.0 and expand capacity. We've got this great design for Monarch Station. We'll do 80 more units of affordable housing. So we responded, and it was a blind bidding process. And they called us in later that summer and said, guess what? Congratulations. We loved your proposal. You scored the highest. We want to give you those two things. And we'd love it if you guys could be the managing partner of this entire campus and go ahead and develop it all yourselves. My colleague Natalie Pasquenza, your fellow Rotarian here, unfortunately was not in the meeting with me because she would have been kicking me under the table to be like, wait a second, don't say yes to that. And I was like, that sounds great. I think we can do it. And we'd love to be responsible for this, Mayor, in a partnership with you, of course. So we agreed to become the managing partner and developer. And that's frankly because we have so much passion for coordinating services and collaborating with others. And I have a slide that's going to speak to collaboration in just a moment. But we have a development agreement in place now. We've started demolition. We were awarded an amazing grant from the PNC Bank Foundation late last fall to be able to open a temporary shelter on the campus because we knew that renovations would not be done in time during these coldest months. I mean, imagine I was complaining about how cold it is just walking from my vehicle, which is really inappropriate and such a first world problem when we have people living on the streets in this kind of weather. So we opened a temporary shelter with support from the PNC Bank Foundation, and we have 9 families living in a temporary structure on that campus today. And that's a great temporary solution until the Unity House 2.0 gets open later this summer. Which Natalie reminds me is summer doesn't end until September 20th, so we'll just keep that in mind. I want to talk a little bit about the site plan of what you can expect on this campus, and then I'm going to, at the end, invite you to come take a hard hat tour and see it for yourselves. Given the size of investment, we really think it's important from a community engagement standpoint that we open our doors and let you touch it, see it, feel it, know about it. We've been very overwhelmed, frankly, by the outpouring of support for this project. It hits on lots of different key components that our community is facing, from public safety to the expense that public works and first responders are already spending addressing this challenge. We're trying to get more upstream. And I just want to say, too, how special it is. This campus is located in the Smoketown neighborhood. So fun fact, and I love that my fellow Rocket Leanne is here and Mary Lane, the president of Assumption, to get to hear this, because the truth is I got into the field of social work because in my sophomore year at Assumption, I went through a program called ACTS, which stands for Christian Through Service. I came from a pretty low-income family. I was only at Assumption because of some, just to be candid, my father died and my mom was getting some Social Security payments, which enabled her to spend that on our education. My dad, she remarried when I was 5. My stepdad, who I've called my dad because he's the only dad I've known, my biological father passed away when I was 11 months. So I grew up with a dad who was a plumber and a mom who was a stay-at-home mom, and was afforded the opportunity to go to Catholic school because of some unique family circumstances. But I was not the person wearing name brands. I was not the person who had a lot of extra spending for extracurriculars or vacations. And so I really kind of felt sorry for myself for my first year of high school until in my sophomore year of high school, I went to the Smoketown Community Center in the Shepherd Square Housing Development to do an after-school tutoring program with kids living in that low-income housing. And I got introduced to poverty at a level that I did not understand and had never seen before. And I also got introduced to kids who were my age, who were just as fun and bright and talented. And so I really started thinking about the intersection of poverty and segregation and housing, and what happens to someone's mindset and their trajectory when they're limited only on the basis of external factors, but nothing intrinsic to them. And through ACTS, I got inspired to continue that service. And ultimately, I kept doing my volunteer work at Smoketown. And as a senior in high school, with parents who had never been to college, I was really uncertain what that path looked like for me. And so I applied to the Metro United Way for a scholarship, and I was for community service, and I was awarded a 4-year Fulbright to go to UK to pursue a degree in social work as long as I continued community service. And so when I think about getting to be back in Smoketown today, all these many, many years later, working on issues of homelessness and housing, it's really quite special to know that the inspiration for my journey was sparked at least as a sophomore at Assumption, and my exposure to people different from me but really similar to me as well. And so today what we're going to do on this campus is going to be quite extraordinary. Really first class, excellent services, and a beautiful campus to express the dignity and worth of every person who will be served here. And we're talking about 500 people a year that will be served on this campus, and so I'm just going to do a quick run through of all the different components. So A on that map is the View or View Hotel, and it is the future home to homeless families. We'll have about 29 units where families will be served there. And it's under construction now. That's the first piece that will open later this year. We have, if you go to the left, is that F, that's the YMCA Safe Place. So much like Goodwill, this isn't just a VOA service enriched campus, it is multiple partners. So YMCA Safe Place will serve young adults who age out of foster care and often fall off the cliff of support and find themselves on our streets. So 18 to 24-year-olds will be served in F by YMCA Safe Place. E is a wonderful partnership between U of L Health, Norton Healthcare, and Family Health Centers, medical respite for those patients who are no longer inpatient eligible, but they are precariously housed and maybe they need some home health and they don't have that home part of that. We'll provide that here. 30 beds with some pharmacy and primary medical care on the campus that can be accessed by clients, staff, as well as Smoketown residents. D is affordable housing. Now there's a lot going on in our federal government these days. Lori and I were talking about that before we got started. That's made our jobs really fun this year. So we're not sure what HUD's going to look like, but we are moving forward with replication of Monarch Station. So 80 units of affordable housing, some of which will be permanent supportive housing for those chronically underserved folks. And then some first floor amenities. We're thinking about what might the neighborhood need, what might people on the campus need, whether it's food and beverage, laundry, a barber, whatever the needs are. We're going through a process of due diligence and assessing that right now in the community, and with the folks, we're doing a focus group with people directly impacted as well as the employees that will be on this campus. And we're talking to some really cool private investors who have an interest in helping us bring some amenities to the campus. And then C is the future home to Volunteers of America's headquarters and our partners. So we're going to have partners in our space so that they can provide some services and deploy their activities straight from that location. We'll move about 50 headquarters staff to that campus so that we'll have really good eyes and ears and make sure that we're part of the community that we're seeking to create. This is going to be an inclusive, walkable, lots of green space, beautiful community. And then we have a community center that will be transitional housing for our graduates on the second and third floor, so people who need a little bit more time in housing before they find permanent homes. And then a community center that will include the Police Activities League. LMPD has been a great partner as we've been planning the environmental safety aspects of building this campus, and they'll have office space on this campus, not from an enforcement standpoint, but on a positive, proactive, let's build good relationships and have some visibility to our Police Activities League that they'll be able to engage our youth that will be served on the campus. So let's see what's next. So these are some renderings. We've been working with Miranda Construction. They have done a wonderful job with us building a plan that would make this a beautiful campus where people feel safe and secure. There's lots of different people that are going to be on this campus every single day. So we've taken a lot of time and thought to make sure that everything from the landscape architecture to the wayfinding signage to the way that certain places will be separated and not accessible to the general public to ensure safety for everyone we serve there. So next steps, I mentioned the Unity House 2 will open later this year. And then after that, we will have the headquarters and partner space come online, respite, the young adult, transitional housing, and you can see the order of events there. This really is a 3-year project. Some of this timeline is depending on the availability of tax credits, which will be one of the key funding mechanisms for the affordable housing. And of course, there's some questions around the availability of those as well as the vouchers that help with the operations and the cash flow once folks are in those units. So we are still working on the pro forma, but here's what we've accomplished so far. This is about a $68 million deal. We were very happy that the General Assembly gave the city of Louisville $100 million. And I have to tell you that both the House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats, said to Mayor Greenberg, we're going to give this $100 million. We want 22.5 of it to come off the top and to go directly to the community care campus. There's a real recognition in Frankfurt that if we don't address this need, then it's really hard to focus on tourism and beautifying the Belvedere, that this is really Maslow's hierarchy of needs in action. And so kudos to everyone for recognizing that and devoting $22.5 million to this project. We've had other wonderful gifts. Mary's here from the Geens Foundation, a wonderful contributor to this project. Mr. Dan Caudell, the Caudell Seed Company. I can't believe I got through the Monarch Station slide and didn't recognize him. When you see him, thank him for his generous support. He was the reason we did Monarch Station where we did it, because he donated the land. He also made a $250,000 gift to this project to help us with transitional housing for women coming out of our Freedom House program. AT&T has made a gift, and then the Humana Foundation was the first private gift. And David Jones and Tiffany Benjamin said, we are in, we're going to do $3 million unrestricted, use it as you need, and help generate other support using our name and credibility. And so since then, Natalie and I had an opportunity to sit down with a donor just a week and a half ago, and we thought we were giving a friendly update about this project. And mid-bite of my chicken curry salad, she said, I'm going to give a $3 million gift, unrestricted, and I just want to remain anonymous. You don't even have to tell anybody who I am. She said, I care so deeply about what you all are doing, and I trust that you all can do this, and I want to put my money where my mouth is. And so she made that gift. We have worked with Congressman Morgan McGarvey on a federal earmark that has been pledged for this project. That will be also in transitional housing, leaving us an estimated gap of just $19 million. So we're well on our way. We are well on our way, but we are still fundraising, and our goal is to really focus on the private side of getting as many investors and supporters engaged in this project in 2025 as possible, so that we go into the legislative session of 2026 knowing if there is some additional gap, maybe they come back to round us out and finish off this project for us. So that's really our thinking now, but we are really focused on developing partner networks. So if you're thinking, Jennifer didn't mention this particular entity or function on this campus, this would be a great idea, we would love to hear from you. We are still ideating. The plane is in the air. We are still building it. I know our treasurer may get nervous about that sometimes, Jan Grayson. Appreciate you so much in this process, sir. I promise you we'll get there, but we are still ideating, so it's not too late. If you have a great idea, we'd love to hear from you. Here's some of our partners, and we are still talking. We even talked to people on Amy's team recently who said we might want a classroom space to do some soft skills training on soft skills, a classroom setting for soft skills training on campus. So we're talking to Goodwill. Right now we're talking to 7 County Services, but here's some of the partners. And then I mentioned the PNC Foundation gift that's enabling us to do transitional housing, and then the Humana Foundation announcement. So we've been trying to really talk about this in the media, because I know sometimes people are just like, are we ever going to figure this out? Is anything positive changing or happening? And this is, again, a 3-year deal, so I'm not going to be able to flip a light switch and make it all better. And I want to be clear, the community care campus is one piece of an overall community strategy. And there are some conversations happening, by the way, around how we synchronize our work around homeless and housing differently. So we're all doing great work, but maybe we're doing it here, there, and everywhere, and not synced up at the highest level. David Jones and Mary Gwen Wheeler have really challenged us to start thinking about collective impact and a backbone that can help coordinate and organize the work. We're really excited to get to think about that and do this work differently. Lastly, on Friday, March 28th, we would love to host you for a tour. Carrie and Don have been to our tour. We'd love to show you a sneak peek around the campus. Surely it'll be warmer by then. So we'd love to give you some coffee and donuts and show you around. So please let us know if you can take advantage of this sneak peek exclusive behind the scenes of the campus. And now I will take your questions.
Fantastic overview. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Okay, if any Rotarians have any questions, you know what to do. Come to this microphone to ask our speaker any questions that you might have about this exciting project. Here comes Barbara. She's
President Lori, fellow Rotarians, Kevin Fields. Good to see you, Jennifer. Really excited about you being here. Thank you for such a rich presentation. As one of your colleagues in the nonprofit leadership movement, you make us proud. So great job. And I do want to say to your treasurer, Grant Jason, and I'll say this on behalf of my board, we would love to have a treasurer just like Dan. and we need, the board is in search of a treasurer. So you can model that behavior, that leadership that Dan just offered.
Kevin, back up off my treasurer.
Please, no, I'm not. I said others just like him. He's the model.
Okay.
So, yeah, but you've done such a great job of giving us an update on VOA. I do have a question that's not regarding VOA. You do such great work there. I'm very proud of it. But I know you provide leadership in other ways across the city. And I know you're involved with the Western Opportunity Partnership. And I'm looking forward to joining you in those ranks. Could you let the club know a little update about what's happening with the partnership?
Yes. Thank you, Kevin, and welcome to the Western Opportunity Partnership Board. Kevin was recently elected. I serve as the board development chair for the partnership, in short is what we call it now. This was a legislative mandate that came out of the 21 session that formed the partnership that created $30 million of seed capital for the 9 neighborhoods in West Louisville, followed by a 20-year TIF. all new taxation, sales, income, and property over the baseline year, which was 2023. 80% of all new taxes for the next 20 years go back into the partnership to redeploy into job creation, housing, whatever the neighborhoods need. And our board is really uniquely populated by 9 neighborhood representatives, and then the rest of us are in the legislation. So Louisville Urban League, VOA, the University of Louisville, etc. It's taken us a while to get organized. We've experienced a lot of controversy. This has not been embraced by everyone. So it took us a minute to get ourselves organized. We had some turnover on the board that was pretty prominent. And so now that we're, I think, finally to a place of a little bit more stability, we have a wonderful executive director in Laura Douglas. Talk about the epitome of professionalism and smarts and heart. Someone who's spent her entire life living in West Louisville is leading the organization now. We are finally to a place of starting to accept deals and look at applications. And in fact, when I leave here today, I'm going to the West End Opportunity Partnership to meet with Laura and Rita and our finance chair, William Summers from Republic Bank, to talk about the deals that are in the pipeline. So if you've been waiting and wondering, is this organization going to ever get off the dime and do something? I promise you we are so close to start distributing some of the resources to start making that new dynamic happen. That is going to be really transformational for the community. So thank you for that question, and we look forward to having you serve on the board with us. Thank you.
Hey Jennifer, Barbara Sexton-Smith here, a former deputy mayor. It was great to walk through that year of 2023 with you and to watch you lead and navigate. So hats off to you. My question is, I noticed you didn't mention, because you can't mention everything, you didn't mention Salvation Army, who is right across Breckenridge Street from you. And if you could just talk for a couple minutes about if there is any kind of engagement, interface, partnership, and what those possibilities could look like.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Barbara, for that question and for your leadership. We loved getting to work with you when you were in the mayor's office. So Barbara's comment is a really good one, because I want you to know we're not just thinking about the confines of the campus, we're thinking about how do we create a certain dynamic in the Smoketown neighborhood that raises all boats. And so we have Salvation Army on one perimeter, and we have Hope Village on another perimeter. 2 organizations that are working in the space, doing the work a little bit differently, and even different from VOA. And so we've had some conversations with the leadership of both to start talking about things like standardization of some basic operating principles. One of the things that is a difficulty for Salvation Army is that because of funding and staffing, many of the people that they serve have to leave during the day. And if you've driven down that corridor, you see a lot of activity on our streets and sidewalks, and that for neighbors can feel a little unsettling and people are uncertain. And so we're talking about how we can safely serve people and give them the dignity and quality of services all hours of the day. So we've started those conversations and really want to make sure that between VOA, Salvation Army, Hope Village, Blueprint 502 that's doing great work, JCTC, LUMED, we're thinking about how we create some seamless synergies so that the people that are being served have some basic standard operating principles, and that we're all communicating in a way where the consumer isn't having to figure it out and stumble along. But we're creating a system of care with high touch, high communication. So that's in the works right now. Beyond that, we don't have anything formalized in writing, but that is our goal to get there as we approach opening the doors of some of these components of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for being here to talk to us today and give us this update on this incredibly exciting project. I got to hear a little bit about it when we were at Glide in San Antonio in the fall. I'm just glad it's continuing to move forward, and we cross our fingers on federal funding. But one of the ways I always think, we have so many different really important community partners in Louisville, and one of the ways you know you're important is if somebody cannot even imagine if your organization wasn't here, right, and doing the work that you do. It would be actually unimaginable to think about you not being here. So thank you so much for being such an important part of the fabric of Louisville. All right, next week we're going to have Dawn G. wave anchor a recipe to end hunger, so that should be a great, fun meeting. Then the week after that, we have had a speaker change. We're going to be hearing from Dr. Eli Capilouto from the University of Kentucky on March 6th. The PNC speakers who were originally going to speak to us have agreed to move back, I believe, until June, at the June meeting, because you're going to want to hear from them as well. You'll need to RSVP by noon on Monday if you want to join us for Don G, or you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, so you don't have to remember Monday. And then I'm getting ready to ring the bell, so guests, you know what that means. Please make your way over for a brief What is Rotary session, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week.